Good evening. This is Critical Break, and I'm Dee. And we just got done with another live stream where some people participated in a mirror gazing ritual to see what they saw in their reflection. And it was interesting, the results, but I wanted to hold off doing my stream tonight till after that was over with, in case anybody had questions or anything regarding that particular experiment. Anyway, crazy day today, as usual. I don't know if anybody else has noticed, but the energy lately has been very chaotic. At least around me it has been. And tonight we have a lovely ice storm happening. So hopefully my power stays with us for the stream, and I'm hoping anyway. Good evening, Milky Way Weekly and My Skies 5D. Awesome to see you guys. As far as the mirror experiment, I had some reservations about it myself. I've got a question in the chat, and the question is, I seen that and I have a question. Isn't that some type of magic? Is it good or bad? Okay. I had reservations because I think people that haven't done a lot of meditation and know how to handle seeing things that the average person doesn't see normally. I think psychological disorders and things like that could be an issue for some. And yes, mirrors are used for scrying. It's a specific type of mirror that's used for scrying. Some people use regular mirrors, but I was a little concerned about the mental health issue from that aspect particularly. And I think it may be taking people into an area they're not ready for. And if you don't have yourself spiritually protected, basically, it could be an issue. So that's my perspective on it. I don't have any problem looking into mirrors, but some people might. You never know. So I'm going to read the chat. Unfortunately, my eyes are not super cooperative this evening, so I think I'll put my glasses on for a little bit here so I can read the chat. Yeah, we have one comment in the chat. I was hesitant too, but I got a rush of energy and it seemed like two heads merged and shadowy beings seemed to be in the mirror. I know I'm crazy, right? No, you're not. There's a possibility of seeing spirits when you look in the mirrors and interdimensionals. So you're not crazy. It happens. Okay, another question. What kind of noise do you think these devices are that we are using? I guarantee if they are mirroring us with them. What kind of mirrors do you think these devices are? Oh, which devices in particular are you speaking of? Good evening, Miss Lovecat. Good to see you. I also call her Miss Mew. So if you ever hear me say that, that's my nickname for her. Let's see. Oh, I think he might be speaking of these devices being, we're not really looking at ourselves in those so much. I think that the uh, overuse of things such as cell phones, I think, here's the thing. It's kind of like I've talked to people that are super hooked on certain series or people that are hooked on certain games, um, people that if there's something in particular that you speak of constantly and it's on your mind all the time, such as games. um, I know some people are like into Bitcoin like crazy to the point that they're obsessed. It's an obsession. And I think that it's basically, my analogy is that's their God. If their mind is on that so much, they're basically focusing in on it. And that is much like meditation or prayer. And that is basically their God. And that's no joke. And some of them will readily admit it even. And I don't know that that's very healthy, not in a spiritual sense. So, yeah. Unfortunately, our society spends way too much time down like this and not looking at each other in the eyes, or looking up or down or anywhere. And there's some of us that are highly uh, aware of our surroundings, and we see things that most people don't because we are so hyper aware. And I know there's there is a very big awakening happening right as we speak. It's been going on for a while, but it's like super surged recently. The uh, To me, that's amazing, and I hope it just. I know a lot of people are suffering with basically mental breaks because they are awakening sometimes kind of rapidly, which it can be very scary. And even if you do it slowly, it can be scary. It's a lot to take in. I mean, we've got basically, we have a war going on right now, is the best way to put it. And it's a war, good versus evil, the old one that goes back eons. It's perpetual. Unfortunately, the bad side has had control for entirely too long, and it should have never been that way. You know, I was talking to a friend of mine, and we feel like we were sent here on a mission, and her and we know what we are. I didn't have to look in a mirror to know what I am. Good evening, Freeman Steve. And I already know what I am. So when I look in the mirror, I see exactly what I am. I don't see anything extra. Some people could have attachments. Um, and, you know, I spoke about this before. There's something very important about eyes, especially to those of us that know what we are. I see things in people's eyes, much like some people might see in the reflection of a mirror. And I can recognize evil like that. And it shows. I spoke about in a previous video about um, whenever I've had contact with someone that is inherently evil or has an attachment, because there's difference, there's two different things going on there. But when they look me in the eye, or when they make eye contact, they immediately look away, and they usually get a weird, it's a grimace. It's not a grin. It's almost a grin, but it's hard to explain. But they can't look me in the eye. They'll turn away. They'll do anything to avoid eye contact. Um, and I think some of you may have experienced this too. Um, and when you look at that person, you know instantly. It's kind of, I described it before, it's like going down a roller coaster where that sinking feeling that you get and the hair stands up on the back of your neck and all your senses go on high alert. That's what it's like for me when I come across that. Fortunately, it's not very often, but it happens. And I've also had experiences with, oh, let me see, I got a question. My original channel name is Icy Lies. That was the question they wanted to know. But yeah, I'm Icy Lies. Hi. Anyway, I've also had experiences where I've been on the phone with somebody in a government office or just anywhere. It can be even corporate or whatever. And that person, you're not talking to a normal person when you get them on the phone. It's like they know what you are. And I think it's a vibrational thing. And you can get on the phone and be as pleasant, and they will be aggressive, um, almost abusive in their language and their short, snappy. And this isn't just somebody having a bad day. We're talking about something that's not right, like really not right. And you sense it. You can feel it through the phone. It's like I've been explaining to people with electronics. And yes, these are a mirror of sorts, especially like doing video. But you can sense energy coming through. You can be in chat rooms with people, and you can feel when there's a whole bunch of us that are really awake, we feel that energy of each other, and it like amplifies all of us. It's incredible. But you can get quite the opposite too if you get people in the chat room. And I've seen chat rooms, it'll be the same people, but there'll be a few new ones, and you can feel the energy coming off. And sometimes it's not right. There's just something off, and you can feel it literally. But looking at the chat to see what else is being asked. Yes, yes. It's kind of, it's interesting because I've seen other people, when I look in their eyes, I know they're one of us. That's the best way to explain it. I can look in somebody's eyes and immediately there's this knowing, this sense of, I know you. And it's not just somebody looks like somebody. There's something in your eyes I see. It's hard to explain, but those of us that have experienced this know exactly what I'm talking about. It's like I've gotten tons of letters and quick notes that people, when they see me, they immediately that I'm one of them. It's like instant. And there's a few people that don't have that ability, um, that I think are one of us. They have other abilities that they're utilizing, so that one isn't turned on as much, I think is what's happening. But I'm glad you're enjoying the topic. I've got several topics set up for tonight, but I wanted to start out tonight with talking about this mirror thing and that the sense of knowing and knowing each other and things like that. Anyway, so let's see what we, and yes, we do tend to congregate. We find each other, and there is this sense, many of us are feeling a sense of urgency, like there's something really important we need to be doing, like immediately, very, very soon. It feels time critical. Um, let's see what else. My eyes are super blurry tonight, so sometimes I need these and sometimes I don't. It's really odd. Oh, yeah, yeah. You see what I'm talking about. You guys definitely get what I'm talking about. I knew you would. Anyway, it's really good to see all of you too. Hello, Miss Muse. Good to see you too. Um, you know, I'm extra energized when I get a chance to talk to you all. And like I said during the last video, I've been in my head a bunch. And anybody doing what I'm doing and coming forward and talking about what I'm talking about, you definitely, I was very reluctant to do this in the first place. But at the same time, I felt like I was being pushed to do it. Um, like, get your ass in gear, get out there and help the others like you, because I feel this need for us to gather, communicate. Um, like I said, it's a mission. That's the best way to put it. Um, anyway, I was going to talk a bit about telepathy and what that's like, because, and I'm sure most of you have experienced it. Um, the telepathy, I get, I used to uh, get it as a kid, and then there was a big part of my life where I kind of shut it off. I still, I can read people pretty quickly, and I tried not to do that too much because I didn't want to intrude, so to speak. It's the best way to put it. But oh yeah, the ego thing. Yeah. Um, I don't think a complete ego death is really good, because ego allows for self-protection. And currently, with what we're faced with right now, we need that. Um, I was just reading the chat and looking at what people were saying. But I know. Oh, that's awesome. I sensed your energy in the chat earlier. That's why I responded immediately. Yeah, um hi, Miss Deborah. Good to see you. We were chatting about uh those of us that are awake and like really awake, not just a little bit, but like hyper aware. And we're talking about evil energy, what that's like to be around, how we sense energy even through chat rooms. Don't even have to be on video or anything like that. You can sense it, you can feel it. Um, you can feel when you're getting positive energy, and you can definitely feel when you're getting the negative. It's like it, yeah, because we're empaths. We feel it. It's indescribable. For people who aren't empaths, they don't get it. They don't understand it. But if you don't learn how to balance it, it can become overwhelming, and it causes a lot of us to shut down because it's just like system overload. It's a good way to put it. But anyway, I was going to talk about telepathy a little bit tonight. Um, I was, like I said, as a kid, I had it. But the last, I'd say since about 2005 or so, my telepathy has gone skyrocketing. Um, I feel like I'm getting constant contact the last 2 years, particularly. But, and it's interesting because there are, good evening, Miss Jen. Good to see you. Um, with the telepathy thing, some people call them guides. Some people call them spirits. The ones I am in contact with directly, that are constantly in contact with me, are, I call them angels. That's what they are. Um, they they help, like I said, I mean, if you look at previous videos, I talk about research that I do. I can't seem to get enough information crammed into me fast enough. I've done a lot of digging through uh, archaeology, theology, anthropology, um, ancient text, uh, things regarding genetic autoimmune disorders, and just it's mind numbing, really. But these angels of mine guide me to look at specific things. And once I started listening to them, it sped up my work, because before I felt like I was wading through mud because I was researching things that were dead ends, and information that was inaccurate. So once I started listening to them, I started getting a lot further down the road a lot faster. Um, the way they trained me to listen to them, and I never sense any negative energy whatsoever, ever. All I feel is this overwhelming sense of love, sense of this is my family speaking to me, um, and empathy, because they know we're going through hell down here. That's the best way to put it. They know it, and they had no idea it would get this bad. That's what they told me. They had no idea it was going to be this bad. So, yeah, when we volunteered for our jobs to come to the planet, basically, to help mutate the energy happening here, I think they didn't expect it to be as bad. And I think, it's like I was talking to a good friend of mine. We both agree and concurred and like almost said it at the same time. The basically worst case scenario is what happened. And so now we're having to deal with the worst case scenario. And I think many of you probably know exactly what I'm talking about when I say that. I think there was some questions in the chat. Let me look here real quick and see. Yeah, I have lots of daytime downloads. And now it's not even so much downloads. They use those to get my attention, the downloads. And once I started paying attention, now I get just constant telepathy type communication. Let's see if anybody else. Let's see. See, that's the thing. Here's the question. Sure, we can come find each other online, but how do we get in our physical environment and I feel isolated in my physical environment of people awake? Yes. And that's part of what my mission is here, is to help you all congregate so that you can all help each other, basically, is that, and help transmute some of the negative energy. There's a chat room that I set up on Google Hangouts. If you send me an email to criticalbreak@outlook.com, shoot me an email with the email address you want me to use, and I'll send you a link for that chat room. And it's open 24/7. You can go in there and type. I just set it up, so it's possible that there'll be slow times when there won't be anybody chatting, but I keep my Gmail open all the time. So if I hear a message come through, I'll pop over and see what you guys are up to. But you can just type chat there. You can just voice chat, or you can video chat. So I think it's basically a support network, and we are basically using it as a networking system with each other. We're going to be doing group meditations, group prayer, to help mutate, because I think we have amazing energy and power, and we are much more than like these biosuits, way more. And I think if we focus our ability and our energy at negative, we can transmute it. I'll talk about manifesting for a minute. Manifesting, oh, that's a good one. I've got an example actually right here of manifesting. Back right before Christmas, this desk, I just did put it in place and get my computer and everything set up the way I wanted. And it had been a long, hard day. I spent hours, because I tore my computer down, cleaned it, and did all that stuff while I was moving everything around. And I'm OCD, so you can imagine what that was like. Tear everything apart. Anyway, And I didn't feel good that day, and I kind of pushed myself, made myself do it. And at the end of the day, it was probably 10:30 at night before I got done. And I thought to myself, it's a glass top desk. And I thought to myself, I really could use a coaster for my coffee. That just crossed my mind at the end of getting done. I was sitting on the floor, just kind of satisfied with myself that I got it done, even though I didn't feel top of the morn. So, um, the very next day, a friend of mine, a good friend of mine, came by, and he had been over uh, because he's not doing well financially. He had been over to the food pantry, and they sent him over to the church here to get because the church over here does a special thing during the holidays where they give away blankets and clothes and personal items and paper products and bicycles for kids and all kinds of stuff. It's really awesome. But he had been over there, and in the box that he got, he came over because he was going to share some of it with me. And he was pulling things out, and he pulls out this package with something wrapped in tissue. And he handed it to me directly. He didn't even look at what it was. I opened it up, and it's a coaster. Exactly the kind of coaster I thought in my head that I wanted. A ceramic with little, let me see if I can get it to focus, little feet on it. And interestingly enough, a single coaster, not a set of coasters, a single coaster, exactly what I was thinking. And that was just a brief, fleeting thought at the end of the day before. So less than 24 hours later, voila, a coaster. And it's got a bird on it. Well, birds have been something, let's see, something that's been standing out to me. I love to photograph animals, nature, the sky. The sky is a big subject of my camera lens. But birds, like, what was that, 3 weeks ago? Have to pull the pictures up to give you a date. But I have interesting things happen with animals. But this was a bird, and it was a bluebird, and it flew and I was actually photographing some hawks that were out a ways, and I had the long lens on my camera, and I had a bluebird fly down and land at my feet, and I took several pictures of it. But yeah, birds are kind of a common thing for me. But as far as the manifesting, I think we are creators. We can manifest. And that isn't the only instance of me manifesting things into reality. That coaster, I just thought that one was really interesting. A single coaster. And less than 24 hours after that very fleeting thought. But I thought that was pretty cool. But I thought, just to give you guys an example of what we are capable of, that's a tiny, tiny thing. We're capable of much, much more than that even. Okay, I'm going to scroll the chat down here because I need to catch up with what you guys are saying. Sorry. Let's see. Um, Yeah, yesterday I did some video of the sky because, well, we got chemtrailed. It was checkerboard. It was crazy yesterday, and it was all day long, like from sun up clear till the sun went down. And I've got some footage of that. Okay, let's see. Yeah, it's music. Music. Frequency is a big deal to us. I literally can lose myself in it. I don't know how to describe it exactly, but yes, Milky Way Weekly, super therapeutic, correct, especially the right type of music. And I love all kinds of music, all types. I mean, country, rap, rock, you name it. I tend to be a rock person, but I'll listen to ambient and world music, new age, you name it, all kinds of stuff. It's like it just whatever strikes me at the time, I think. But yes, I have a massive music collection, and I mean massive, because my tastes are very wide when it comes to that, including Mozart. And I mean, yeah, it's very varied. Oh, how is your chicken doing, Miss Lovecat? What is she sick with? She's got a sick chicken. I saw she did a video with this chicken, and it was so cute. I was like, "Oh!" It was sitting in her lap, and it had a bath. I hope your chicken's doing okay. But anyway, your guides, angels, whatever words you use to describe them, they will train you to listen to them. And I never sense any negative from mine ever. Never, ever. Like I said, complete love and empathy, nothing but. And how they started training me to listen is music was one of the things. I would hear what I best describe as calliope music. Um, it's that's the closest thing I can describe it to. Um, it's almost like you're tuning into a radio station in your head, and I caught myself sitting there humming, and I'm like, "What am I humming to?" And I was paying attention, and it was music, and it wasn't coming from anywhere. It wasn't neighbors or anything like that. It was coming from out of the air, literally. And that was one of the ways they trained me to listen. The other thing they were doing was downloads. And I would get these, you know how computers send packets of information via the internet, um, or via, you know, uh, between computer to computer. They send it in packets. And the best way to describe a download is a packet, but this packet not only contains the full picture of what they want you to see, but the temperature, the smells, sounds, everything. It's like being there, but it's instantaneous. And I find I'm usually, the best way to describe it is I'm usually hanging in the air somewhere slightly above what I'm looking at. It's really hard to explain unless you have it happen. It's like, ew. But so you'll get these downloads. And when I was getting, like, I got an airplane crash once. Well, I've actually gotten more than one, but I was like, why did you show me that? There's nothing I can do about it. You know, why did I get that information? And I got it, I'm trying to remember now, but it was less than 3 days and probably more like about 24 hours between the download and the crash actually happening. And I was upset because what are you supposed to do with that information? You know, but it wasn't the crash that they were trying to show me. They were just trying to get me to listen to them. So they were training me to cue in on them. Good evening, Sir OR. Good to see you. But yeah, it's good to see you, sir. Big warm fuzzies to you too. If you guys see me post or say warm fuzzies equal warm hugs and love. So if you see fuzzies, that's what I mean. You know that when you get a really good hug from somebody and it feels like they mean it, that warm fuzzy, that's what that means. I have my own individuated language. I kind of make up my own words, and yeah, it's fun. It keeps life interesting. But yeah, they train you to listen. And those weird downloads, I don't get those so much anymore because it's like I'm totally tuned into them all the time. It's not constant head chatter. You know, when you're thinking in your head to yourself about things, they'll actually pipe in and answer questions. Um, they they're not. It's not constant, um, but it's fairly frequent, and I get like this particular mission of starting the channel up, relaunching it, and trying to uh, convert the energy and all that. I had so many misgivings about doing it, and thought it over, mulled it around, hee-hawed around about it. And I was getting constant pushes from my angel friends um, to get my butt in gear. And I drug my feet. I really drug my feet because, well, for obvious reasons, anybody with half a rational mind would contemplate, you know, coming forward with the type of information that I'm talking about. So, so yeah. Anyway, but they kept at me, and I kind of needed a timeout, so to speak. They were pushing me. I knew I needed to do it, didn't want to do it. And so I took a timeout and I started, because sometimes I'll trade this matrix for a game matrix. And there's a MMO RPG that I play that I'll go into that matrix so that I lose this matrix and quit thinking about things, or overly thinking too much. And I did. I needed a timeout. So I started back into playing this MMORPG I had set down for a few years and hadn't played for like 2 or 3 years. And I was playing it, and I was getting pestered constantly by my angels. I've got two, particularly, that hang around. But I was getting pestered a lot. And I kept in my head talking back to them. I know, but I really need this time to decompress. I need to really think this through, really. And they were bugging me a bunch. And I finally said, look, I'm doing this. I need to do this. Give me this time. And they backed off. They weren't around. I would hear them. It's interesting because I have hypercussive hearing. So I can actually hear them when they're near. And they would pop in and check in on me, but they wouldn't say anything. So they respected that space that I needed. So I respected them in turn by getting my button gear finally. But yeah, telepathy is a thing. It can happen between us as humans, or between us and guides, angels, spirits, and things of that nature. But oh, thank you, Miss Love Cat. I appreciate you guys coming and listening too. I think what we're doing is so amazing and critical, and I think it's going to be one of those experiences that you never forget. You know, I think I said this during maybe the last video, but of all the times to be on this planet, right here, right now, is the most crucial, the most critical, and it's going to be one hell of a ride. I have a feeling. And you know what? The good guys win. The good guys win on this one. So, yes. So we are much more than these biosuits we're in. I can tell you that for sure. Let's see. What else was I going to cover today? Oh, yes. We did telepathy. Oh, I wanted to give everybody an update on, we were talking about the MTHFR gene and how it's being mutated by folic acid, which happens to be in pretty much everything on the shelf in the grocery store. Because whenever something says enriched or fortified, such as breads, crackers, cereals, it can be in all kinds of stuff, you have to read the labels. Folic acid. If you have the MTHFR gene, this gene can be triggered violently by folic acid. There's other things that can trigger it too, but folic acid is key because it's like being slowly poisoned to death for those of us with this genetic code. And I thought by going organic that would solve problems. Well, and I've been organic for a long time now, but I was reading some labels, and even the organic breads and crackers have folic acid. So I have a bread machine coming because I was like, oh no, they didn't. They're, oh snap, even my organic bread and stuff, has folic acid. So I have a bread machine coming. So you know what I'm going to be, it should be here tomorrow. So you know what I'm going to be doing this weekend? Baking bread. But I wanted to give you guys an update on that. So make sure, even if it's organic, that you're purchasing, make sure you read the label. If it says folic acid, don't touch it. Don't do it. Now, it's estimated that somewhere between 30 and 50% of the population has the MTHFR gene. That means there's a whole lot of people getting really sick with autoimmune disorders. And yes, methylfolate. No, methylfolate's what you want. I had a question about, is methylfolate bad? No, methylfolate is what people with the MTHFR gene need. Folic acid is like poison to us. We need methylfolate. So you want to get a really high quality methylated B vitamin complex. And yeah, and that'll help get your system back in check and stay away from folic acid. It's like, it's utter poison to us. And it's a slow poisoning. It builds up over time. It causes all kinds of methylation issues. It causes organ failure. I mean, because it's like a cascade effect. And as this builds up in your system and your liver and your kidneys can't process it, and then it causes other things to not process, like, let's see, the one thing it can do is it can keep your dopamine receptors from working. Dopamine is a feel-good chemical in your body. So if you're depressed, bipolar, have a high amount of anxiety, it's likely because your dopamine receptors are shot. And that's because of folic acid and this MTHFR gene. So I hope that information helps you guys. But so stay away from folic acid, whatever you do. Anyway, there's that update. Let's see, what else was I going to tell you guys? Okay. Oh, here's another thing. And Miss Tawny had brought this up to me, and it reminded me of what happens to me all the time. Do you all experience, are you the advisor to your family and friends? Are you the one they always come to when shit's hitting the fan for them? Even complete strangers. You'll be in the store and someone just strikes up a conversation and starts spilling their guts. Do you have that happen? Because I know I do. And so does Miss Tawny. Yeah. And I've got friends, I never hear from them unless they're having a really bad day. It's like, oh, wow, yay. It's cool, though, when occasionally they actually contact you and they have some good news, which is awesome. But yeah, if the bad news, it's usually bad news. And, the thing that I figured out a long time ago is I don't know what it is about us, but they sense. It's almost like, I don't know. It's hard to explain. I've always tried to figure out. Yeah, the hairdresser. A lot of people. I think hairdressers should have degrees in. They should have these gifted degrees given to them because they hear as much as psychologists or psychologists do, I think, which is pretty funny. People, because they empty their head when they're getting their hair cut because they relax. And they just, right? But yeah, we tend to draw a lot, and it's easy to fall into the I need to give them advice. And sometimes they're looking for advice, but I can tell you what they're really looking for. They're really looking for empathy. You can give them some ideas if you have some good ones, but really what they're looking for is that empathy, and they see that in you, and I think it draws people to us. We are very bright lights in a sea of black is a good way to describe it. And people notice that, and it draws them in. So you'll notice you will notice that you will get even complete strangers spilling their guts. And it's like, is there a confessional here somewhere? You know, that's the way it feels sometimes. It's like, do I have a confessional attached to me somewhere? But yeah, I've got a lot of friends like that. And I love that they come to me and feel comfortable talking to me, which is cool. And family members and complete strangers. But yeah. But I wanted to talk about that a little bit because Miss Tawny had brought it up, and I was like, oh yeah, it's been that way my whole life. I am the counselor. Good way to say it. Let's see, what else are we going to talk about here? Oh, yes, the big one. I saved it for last. Okay, we talked about this genetic code we seem to all have. That's a real common thread. That we all tend to be empaths. A ton of Rh negatives in this group, and a few O positives. And I think there is a chance that there could be some that are outside of that, but that is the big bulk of us are O positives that usually have a heavy Rh negative background in the family. Like I'm surrounded by Rh negatives. But I think there's a chance you could get an A or a B in there, but usually O positives and Rh negative blood factors seem to be a common thread with this MTHFR. Yes, Miss Jen Fisher, I knew you were. You didn't even have to tell me. But yeah, Rh negative. Yep. There's a whole bunch of us. Now, I'm not Rh negative. I'm an O positive, which is interesting because I've met most of the people I've met that are like us are O positive. There are no other positives. They're always almost entirely O's. Now, I've had some people that are not, that say, they have abilities and things, but there's some common features they're missing. Not saying that they don't have abilities, because I think everybody does to one degree or another. But yeah. Yeah, lots of Rh negatives. I love you guys. My significant other is an Rh negative, and we're drawn just like magnets. It's really interesting. It's like we complete a circuit. That's a good way to put it. Yep. So I think there's something to be said about that, because that may amplify our abilities and energy even more, because we are like completing a circuit. So I think that's an interesting thought. Something I hadn't really thought about too much until today. I was like, it's like a battery. So, but I was going to talk about healing. let's see, Christian Truth is someone that has been in the natural protocols for healing people with the MTHFR gene, and she is fantastic. She is an absolute sweetheart, and I talk to her frequently, and that is probably the person. I mean, I can give you tips and ideas, and some of the rest of you have stumbled across some natural things that help you. So we all can help each other in that way, but she's like the go-to person for getting information like that. So if you send me an email, I'll forward it on to her, and her channel is Christian Truth here on YouTube. And she knows her stuff. She's been doing this for over 30 years. So she's definitely a wealth of information and can really help you guys. And I'm on a protocol myself that is working pretty good. I've gone from nearly dead to where I'm at today in 1 year's time. Not too bad for 1 year. There was a lot of damage done from a lot of years of being super sick. So I'm doing pretty good. And I wasn't doing that good on the medications I was on, the pharmaceutical stuff. Just, it saved my life and stopped some of the cycle that was happening. But it wasn't curing me and healing my body. And I was still slowly deteriorating with basically Band-Aids covering up the symptoms. So anyway, so if any of you need any information on that, you can send me an email to that same email address that you would send an email if you want to be invited to the chat room, so that you guys can all be in contact and get to know each other. And we're going to be doing meditation prayer deals in there, mutating negative energy into positive. I think it'll help the planet a lot because our energy is off the chain. And yeah, I think it would do a world of good. This planet needs us. The other thing I wanted to talk about is it's not just us healing our bodies from the MTHFR thing, but also the spiritual internal healing, that because a lot of us have been through, like I said, utter hell and back, hell on earth. And that's no joke, because what has been in charge on this planet for a very long time turned it into a hell on earth. This place, I like to think of it as, was it Star Trek? Oh, I think it was Star Trek. The holodeck. They would go there to live an experience in full 3D, I guess. And this world is basically it was supposed to be an Eden. It was supposed to be a holodeck, a really great place for spirits to come in, experience 3D in the physical body, and all the lessons that you can learn and things you can experience in a biosuit. And it was supposed to be fun. It was supposed to be a joyous thing. And that's been inverted. It's been corrupted. It was hijacked by some, and it's not just one particular group of individuals. It is a team effort going on the other side. So it has to be a team effort on our side too. And people ask me, what do I think about ETs? Some ETs are on our physical dimension, and then you have interdimensionals. And they, both types can be good or bad, you know, negative or positive, and are demons and angels ETs? Yes. That's one thing that I feel like, conclusion wise, I've re-answered that question for myself 100,000 times probably. It's like, are they the same thing? Yeah, they're the same thing. So when you see things like, I know some of my friends here film the sky a lot like I do. We see things up there. And is there a war going on in heaven? Yeah, there is. And we see it up in the sky. So some of the things we're seeing up there are really, really good. Most of them. And then, yeah, I'll actually catch myself doing a telepathy thing with the sky. It's pretty interesting. It's like, yeah, I see you up there. It's a good way to put it. But the internal healing. We've been through so much, and I think we're not perfect. When we came to this planet, we knew what we were in for, sort of. Worst case scenario ended up happening, but we knew what we were when we came. Well, you don't get the benefit of getting to keep that. You know, it's like a species with amnesia. We don't remember what we are, who we are, and it takes. I mean, some of us have been very lucky. Like they describe them as indigos or crystal children or things like that. And a lot of them have autism or Asperger's, and they describe their home planets and what their home's like, the real home, not the holodeck. This is the holodeck, okay? They're able to describe where they came from in detail, and they remember who and what they are. That's amazing. They're super fortunate, because a lot of us go through the amnesia period, and then we have to go through the waking period, and it takes time. And in that, most of us were really, really, really bright lights, and the negative can spot us a mile away, just like we can spot the negative a mile away. And I think we got, many of us, based on just what I've heard from chatting with others like us, have been through the mill. Really hard childhoods, had extraordinary experiences. Many of us, I know, I feel like I've lived 1,000 lifetimes in this one, because I've been through so much. I've had Oh, the amount of loss was incredible. Losing grandparents and things, which most people experience, but I lost a husband, several close friends, really close friends. My very first significant boyfriend. It's a people, this may sound bad, but I've had a ton of loss, tons, much more than the average person. And so there's this internal healing we need to do. And like I said, we're not perfect. I've made mistakes. Oh, I used to sit there and go through and think about all the rotten things I did in my life. And I finally let it go. You have to really forgive yourself, because let's face it, you didn't know who or what you were. And many of us did things out of desperation, basically. Many were affected with the MTHFR, with dopamine receptors not working. You know, I mean, we've had a lot to deal with. So you have to forgive yourself. I think that's the one of the hardest things you can do, is to learn to let that go. That was then, this is now. And sometimes it takes years to work through that. But excuse me, my silly throat is being a pain. It's what happens when you talk a lot in your MTHFR genetics. Screws you a bit with Ehlers-Danlos syndrome. I've got it's a collagen disorder. It's very common with this gene when it's mutated, but it makes your, well, I've said it before, your swallower doesn't work right, and you clear your throat a lot, and you end up getting where you can barely talk. But you have to do some internal healing, and once you heal your internal spirit and you forgive yourself and get past that, you know, it's interesting because I think a lot of us are healers. I think the empath in us almost sucks up negative energy like a sponge, and actually it'll make us sicker. So you got to be careful about that and try to block some of that, because it will make you worse. But we're able to heal other people, not just spiritually, but in the body. And the thing we forget to do is heal ourselves, because we're dealing with, you know, crisis situation with this genetic code, basically. So I wanted everybody to make sure they focus in on themselves, because let's face it, when you're doing the kind of energy work where you're putting out the kind of energy we're talking about, to try to transmute the negative energy, you need to be in top condition, you know, the best you can be with your circumstances. So I think it's critical that you focus in on healing yourself you know, people talk about laying hands on themselves. I think that helps. But I think during some of the first prayer meditation sessions that we all do together to help transmute the negative, I think it would be really beneficial if we did the first few where we target each other. And I think it'd be interesting to see the results of that, because I think it would help many of us greatly if we can, because we're terrible about healing ourselves, but we heal other people. And I think if we did that and focused on each other, kind of a ricochet bounce effect would happen. And when we're together, the energy seems to amplify. Like with two people, it goes up 25%. With three, I mean, I've seen instances in rooms where there's about 10 of us or so, and it's off the charts. It really is. It's so amplified. It's crazy. It like, it's, it reminds me of doing square in math, in mathematics. You know, it's like 10 to the 22nd power, you know? And if any of you remember that in your math class. But yeah, it just like, you know, it's like 10% here, but you add just one more and it goes to 100. It's like exponential jump in increments. And it just keeps, that jump keeps getting larger and larger with each one of us. So if we focus in on each other and try to help heal each other, I think that would help a lot. And help us be in tune with each other too. And train us to work together for transmuting negative energy. Okay, I'm going to read the chat, see how everybody's doing here. We'll wrap up here. Yeah, lots of rough childhoods. I knew you guys did because I knew I did. And every one of you that I spoke with had been through some shit and back. Okay, Miss Jen, so you want me to send you an invite for that chat room that I've been talking about? I'll copy your email address and send you a link, okay? So any of you that want to join in on that chat room, like I said, it's going to be open 24/7. I usually keep my Gmail up. I usually have. I'm horrible because I do research. Just because I started this doesn't mean I stopped my research, because this brain can't get enough, basically, is a good way to put it. And I'll have 10 tabs or more going on my Chrome. But I always have Gmail as my first tab. And so if you guys message me, or if you need anything or want to talk to each other, you know, it's always there, always open. And it'll be, I think, hard at first for everybody to get used to keeping that line of communication open. But I think with time, people, we're going to congregate and naturally kind of into that room and hope. And I plan to set up at least once a week minimum of us kind of grouping up in there and meditating and doing what the plan is, which is helping each other and the planet. So anyway, but send me an email to criticalbreak@outlook.com if you want an invite to that chat room. And if you know of others like us, because sometimes you'll get little groups of 2 or 3 that know each other and talk. If you know anybody, send them over here, and I'll get and tell them, you know, to send an email to me, and I'll add them to the chat room too. But I think I'll end tonight, and hope you all sleep really well and have a really fantastic weekend. Try to stay warm. I know my son's going to be home tomorrow because school's out because of the ice storm we're having here. But yeah, I should be on again Sunday. And I'm going to try to do it earlier in the day, hopefully. Knock on wood. Anyway, love you guys from here to the stars. Have a great night. Bye-bye.